Well, I just canceled my insurance policy for an investment property that I actually own right here in Surrey, BC. And after watching this video, you might want to do the same. Was that cheesy? That was cheesy, right? Guess if I'm going to tell you about it, I kind of need that. There it is. And I'm going to tell you all about it right after I ask you to please subscribe to the channel if you're interested in learning more about Surrey, Fraser Valley, and Canadian real estate for that matter. Make sure you hit the like button, because you hitting the like button on this channel actually helps me get these videos out to other people who have been struggling with their strata insurance lately. So if you could just make sure you hit that like button, it would really mean the absolute world to me. You know what? On second thought, because I'm doing this for you and you might actually benefit from this, I'm going to stick around until you hit that like button. So I'll just stay here right until. All right. Thank you very much. And actually, this was not actually my insurance policy, but it is the insurance policy. I have a fresh copy. It is the insurance policy of my strata. And let me give you a little bit of background here. I bought an investment property earlier in the year. Everything's worked out really, really well. But one of the reasons that I got such a good deal on this particular investment property is because the strata itself could not get full insurance. According to the insurance policy, the whole strata, that all 4 buildings plus amenity centers, all the grounds, everything, have a total value of about $69 million. In this case, it's $69,684,000. And at that time when I purchased, the property was actually only insured to about $45 million, or, well, I don't know, let's call it 65% insured. So that means if the whole building and all of the other buildings in the strata all burnt down at once, that would be a total loss, and it should cost about $69 million to replace. And when you only have $45 million worth of coverage, that actually was a very, very big problem. And as a result, some banks actually would not lend on the property. And that's why I ended up getting a good deal. Because without banks lending on a property, obviously that removes a lot of buyers. And particularly if they were CMHC, that was even harder to get it financed. So I did take advantage of the insurance problem in the building. I mean, the building's only, what, 5 years old. So I knew it was a good buy. But this insurance crisis that we've seen, and go back and make sure you watch the video about the BC insurance crisis. We've actually done 2 on them now. Maybe click that thing up there, wherever it is.
Steve, stay on topic.
So the building was underinsured, therefore I got a deal. But I actually made the decision to buy the property as a result of thinking that this problem was actually going to be fixed. So the background on the actual insurance problem was about 2019, right in and around before the pandemic hit, right around the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. There was a massive insurance problem where all of the strata insurance companies started either not insuring properties at all, increasing premiums to ridiculous amounts, or increasing deductibles also to ridiculous amounts. Now, the property that I bought at the time actually had very reasonable deductibles, but it did have that underinsured thing that I was worried about. And because it was 4 buildings plus amenity buildings on the property, I wasn't super concerned about the building burning down or there being a big problem, because there are 4 buildings, and all 4 buildings would then have to burn down in order for this property to not properly be insured. But the banks don't see it that way. In fact, all the banks do is they look at the total number, say, no, you're not fully insured, and see you later. So I did get a bank to fund it eventually, and the insurance was an issue. So I went to my regular insurance company. I bought a little bit of extra insurance, and that insurance actually cost me $600 a year, because you also have to have your own insurance, right? Like, this is a rental property, so I have to have my own personal landlord's policy. And then the strata itself will actually insure the structure and some liability and that sort of thing. So there's actually 2 different types of insurance. Your strata must carry insurance, and you as the homeowner probably should. And if you have a mortgage, should also carry homeowner insurance, but it's a totally separate policy. So there you go. Everything was good. I bought the property. I got a deal. It was underinsured, but I wasn't worried about it because of the fact that it was multiple buildings. And I actually bought my own separate extra policy on top and made sure that I was now overinsured. But then I got this in the mail, and this is actually a notice of the new insurance provided by my Strata Corporation, or secured by my Strata Corporation. I provide for my portion of it in my maintenance fee. And this is actually what changed. They now have 100% insurance. So the property itself is insured all the way up to now the $69+ million. And I thought to myself, wow, Steve, you did it. I knew this Strata insurance thing would just blow over and it wouldn't really be a big deal. Aren't you smart? The property can be sold again regularly to all banks and you're going to make a boatload of money because you're a wise investor. But then I kept reading. Well, it is important that you review your Strata's insurance policy, because as I went down the list, I realized that this is what you're going to have to pay attention to here. The water damage deductible is usually the highest deductible. It is the one that's going to get you in trouble, because the most often thing that's going to happen is going to be a water leak. And if it's caused by you, that can be a problem. So in the old 65% coverage insurance that we had that was underinsured, the deductible for water loss was $50,000. So I went to my insurance company and they said, yeah, no problem, we can cover that deductible. But when the new insurance came out and now the property is fully insured all the way up to the 69 million, something changed, and that something was actually the deductible for water loss. It is now sitting at $100,000. So that means if there's a problem in the unit and it's deemed to be my fault and it is water loss, I have to come up with $100,000 in order to pay the Strata if their expenses are over $100,000. And if you didn't know, that's one of the things you buy your own personal insurance for. $600 that I was paying for my own policy previously, it would actually cover that $100,000 with just a small deductible of maybe $1,000 myself. So now this is actually the problem. I'm fully insured, but now the deductible is doubled to $100,000. And I went back and checked my policy with my current insurer, and they actually would not cover me up to $100,000 for that Strata deductible. They would still only sell me $50,000 deductible insurance. And so then I said, well, I want to up that. And believe it or not, my current insurance provider, who I'm actually still with for my other home insurance, they actually wanted to charge me a secondary policy for another $600 a year. Now what this does is this actually doubled my insurance, believe it or not. And that insurance is payable every single year. So now my Strata insurance that should be $600 a year doubled to $1,200 a year, therefore eating into the profit and the cash flow of my rental. So I love my insurance provider, and unfortunately they left me no other option but to go with somebody else. Now this is by no means a promotion, but I will tell you who I found. I ended up going to an online brokerage, insurance brokerage that is, called Square One Insurance. Now, my understanding is they're out of Vancouver and they're local, and basically they're kind of like the Uber model of insurance. You go online, you do everything yourself, and as a result, you get lower premiums because they don't have the overhead. And on this website, I was able to go through and get insurance that would cover me all the way up to $100,000 deductible. I'm always super safe, so I actually ended up buying it to $150,000 deductible just in case there was any issues. And that yearly cost now $683 a year, as opposed to the $1,200 that my previous provider was quoting me. So there you go. I actually canceled my insurance policy with my previous insurer and changed it to this online service that so far has been pretty good. And my Strata is now fully insured, and my gamble of buying an underinsured property actually paid off. Now, the only thing that has left to be said is, how will this online insurance company work when there is actually a problem? I have had insurance claims in the past in my own personal residence, and my previous provider was amazing to deal with. Now, when I did phone my guy, and I got a guy who gives me my insurance, I phoned him and let him know, kind of had to break up with him for this particular property, and he didn't blame me, but he did say, hey, you don't necessarily know what type of help and coverage you're going to get from an online company, that you didn't speak to someone when you bought the actual insurance. So I do understand that, but it was $600 a year, and I just I had to make the call in order to get the proper coverage at a reasonable rate. So now what you should do is go check your Strata's insurance, make sure your Strata deductible is covered, because this insurance problem is being fixed. These premiums aren't necessarily coming down, but the deductibles usually are going up. So you want to make sure that you're covered, because if you have the $50,000 coverage and you get charged back that 100 grand, you might have to still come up with another 50 grand, which would be catastrophic, I know, for most people, let alone, investors, if it's your just first time condo that you've got into. If you have any questions about this, please comment down below. If you'd like to stay up to date in the world of real estate, particularly in my marketplace of Surrey, BC, please subscribe, hit that like button, and we'll see you in a couple of days.